Welcome to the Deep Dive, the place where we dig into those crucial insights that can really change how you operate day to day. You know that situation, right? You're in a discussion, maybe it's a tense meeting at work, or maybe you just, talking with a friend. You've got your logic lined up, maybe even some data. You feel like your case is, well, airtight. You lay it all out, explain your thinking in crickets. Or worse, they dig in even harder. It just feels like you're hitting your head against a wall, this verbal back and forth that just leaves you totally drained. And you're sitting there thinking, why didn't that work? It happens all the time, and honestly, it's exhausting. So today, we're doing a deep dive into a concept that sort of flips the script on persuasion and influence. It's drawn from a source we're calling Excerpts from Action Over Argument, AT. And the core idea is, well, it's almost shockingly simple, but really powerful. It basically challenges how we normally try to win people over. The big insight: you can win through actions, not arguments. It's less a tactic, more a whole strategic shift, a way around those mental blocks that make even great arguments just fizzle out.
It really is a fascinating shift in perspective because our default, what we learn in school, what we do every day is talk. We build a case with words. We learn rhetoric, persuasion. But what the source action over argument points out is a key cognitive bias. When someone hears an argument, even a really logical one, that challenges them. Their brain often flags it as a threat, like a threat to what they already believe or maybe their own sense of competence, and that triggers this strong defensive reaction. So instead of listening openly, they just double down on their own view. It doesn't matter how good your words are. All that talking, it might not just be useless, it could actually be pushing them away.
That's the part that really clicked for me. I always thought, oh, if I just had better data or phrased it more eloquently. But what you're saying and what the source really hammers home is that our brains are kind of wired to resist the argument itself, not just the points being made. So, okay, let's unpack that a bit.
Yeah.
What is it about arguing that the source says is inherently limited? Why is it maybe counterproductive? Not just the content, right?
Exactly right. When we argue, we often get stuck in what the source calls words describing a reality, not creating or showing that reality. Think of it like this. You could spend, an hour trying to convince someone it's raining. You describe the clouds, the humidity, show them the weather map. You're using words to describe it.
Lots of descriptions.
But wouldn't it be faster, more convincing to just open the window, let them feel the rain, see the puddles?
Yeah, instantly obvious.
That bypasses the whole need for them to believe your description. It's just fact.
Arguments, then, are these complex verbal things, often a step removed from the actual evidence, and easy for a defensive mind to just brush off.
So it's less about having weak points and maybe more about the delivery method, the arguing working against us. It makes me think of so many times. Okay, I want you, listening right now, take a second. Think about a recent time, work or home, wherever. When did you try really hard to convince someone just using words? A new idea, a different way to do something, maybe just your view on an issue? Did your brilliant points actually change their mind, or did it feel more like...
Yeah, like a stalemate. Both
It
sides
does.
just getting more dug in. No real movement. My bet is usually it feels like that stalemate, like talking past each other. Okay, so we've kind of established that arguing often just makes people dig their heels in more. Doesn't really build agreement. But if words often fail, what's the alternative? How does action over argument guide us towards something that, actually works? Something that gets past that mental resistance? And this is where it gets really interesting. Instead of that endless debate about, I'm right, you're wrong, the source says, prove it with results. This isn't just tweaking how you talk. It's a fundamental shift from trying to persuade with ideas to just
Demonstrating the reality. Moving from convincing with concepts to showing undeniable facts.
That's the absolute core of it, isn't it? Because if talking often backfires, then the truly powerful move, like the source highlights, is to kind of sidestep the words altogether. Let the facts speak. Actions just have this inherent power. They create objective realities that words sometimes can't. When you demonstrate something with a clear result, it just cuts through all the subjective interpretation, the need to believe you, the mental wrestling.
Right, you're not asking for agreement anymore.
Exactly. You're just presenting an outcome. And that outcome becomes the argument itself. Irrefutable, it's visible, verifiable evidence. It often makes long explanations totally unnecessary because the result is just there, self-evident.
Okay, so it's not just about being busy, about doing stuff. It's about strategic action. This isn't just saying do more work. So how does the source suggest we pick an action that actually proves the point instead of just, running around?
That's a really important distinction. The source stresses choosing actions that are demonstrable, ideally scalable, and directly linked to whatever point is being debated. So for example, if the argument is about saving money, your action isn't just vague like, I'll work harder or cut some costs. No, it's implementing a specific measurable change. Maybe you optimize how software licenses are used, and then you visibly track the reduction in spending over a set time. It's like running a little experiment, an A/B test for your idea.
An A/B test, I like that.
Right. You're not just claiming my way will save money. You're showing, we tried this specific thing, and here's the report. It saved X dollars this quarter. The key is that the result has to be clearly observable and directly tied to your action.
That A/B test idea makes it super concrete. Okay, let's try and make this even more real for everyone listening. Imagine you're, say, a designer. You think a totally new artistic direction for a project would be way better, more effective. But maybe the senior people, the more traditional folks on the team, they're pushing back hard. So instead of getting bogged down in endless review meetings, arguing about subjective things like aesthetics or guessing engagement numbers, what if you just quietly built a small, high-quality prototype of your idea, your vision?
A tangible example.
Yeah. Then you test it, maybe with a small sample of the target audience. Get real feedback. Maybe even run it side by side against the safe traditional option. Then you go to the next meeting, not with another slide deck trying to persuade.
Right, not more talking.
But with actual data. Okay, prototype A got X% higher engagement and Y% more positive comments than prototype B. Suddenly, the argument isn't about your opinion versus theirs. It's about what the users actually responded to. The result speaks for itself. So what does this really mean for us, like in our jobs, in our lives? It's not just about winning an argument, is it? It feels more like adopting a smarter, maybe less confrontational, and definitely more efficient way to get things done, to achieve our goals. The win isn't about someone saying, okay, you were right, or having the last word.
No.
The win is achieving that concrete outcome you wanted. It's about making an impact, not just making noise, moving the needle, not just moving your mouth.
And that brings up a key question. What counts as a result here? It needs to be specific. It's not just any outcome. It has to be an unambiguous, verifiable demonstration, something that directly settles the point you're debating. It's the difference between saying, my new process will save time, and actually showing a recording of a task that took an hour, now taking 10 minutes, with proof.
Like a timestamp or cost breakdown?
Exactly. It could be proven efficiency gains, a project finished successfully, a happier customer, a problem actually solved, even a personal goal, like you consistently managed to change a habit. It's moving from intellectual debate to practical proof. It makes the arguing kind of unnecessary because the evidence is right there, undeniable. It's showing, not telling, but showing with clear, measurable proof.
That's such a powerful way to look at things,
Right.
both at work and, at home. I can definitely think of a time spent weeks, literally weeks, trying to convince my team that a certain marketing approach was just dying out for our audience. Endless meetings, charts, projections, felt like hitting a wall. Everyone had their reasons to stick with the old way, comfort zones, past successes.
The usual resistance.
Totally. Then someone else on the team, really quietly, just ran a tiny test campaign on a new platform, tiny budget, came back a month later and showed, look, this got a 10x return compared to the old channel. The debate just poof, evaporated. It wasn't about my arguments anymore. It was about their results. That's the power we're talking about. Undeniable. So I really encourage you listening. Think about where in your life, work or personal, you might be stuck in those argument loops, that recurring disagreement about the budget maybe, or debating with a colleague about the right way to handle a client, or even just an internal battle you're having with yourself about taking a certain step. How could shifting to action, focusing on creating a demonstrable result, change things? How could it help you actually reach your goal in that situation? Where can you stop talking about what should happen and just start doing it in a way that speaks volumes?
And thinking bigger picture, the implications of adopting this mindset are pretty significant. It goes beyond just you winning your point. It's about creating environments, teams, families, communities where progress is actually driven by tangible proof, by measurable outcomes, not just by who's the most persuasive speaker or who argues the loudest.
And that's a huge shift.
It moves the focus from ego clashes to actual effectiveness, from just theory to real improvement. It can lead to faster decisions, less friction between people, and ultimately just more meaningful progress because it's all based on reality.
Absolutely. So as we start to wrap up this deep dive, let's circle back to that core idea from action over argument. It's profoundly simple, but really powerful. It's that strategic move away from endless, often frustrating debate towards the undeniable clarity and sheer effectiveness of showing results. The real power isn't in how well you craft your sentences, but in the visible, measurable, objective impact of what you actually do. Let your results be your argument. So here's a final thought for you to take away this week. Something to chew on, maybe even try out. Just consider, how much energy are you currently spending trying to convince people with just words? What's one single result, maybe small but strategic, that you could realistically create this week? Something that would speak for itself, turning a potential argument into just, clear, accomplished action. Think about that one step. Thanks so much for joining us for this deep